Sorry, I was trying to do the Georgia Sways, whatever her name is. I was trying to do her intro, but if you thought I couldn't get any more annoying, then you're wrong. Just keep watching, I guarantee I'll get more annoying as this video goes on. But today we're talking about Dead Rising 5, and I will inform all you beautiful, cute, sexy, gorgeous people,
this nigga gay,
about Dead Rising 5. And we'll be talking about Dead Rising 5 being cancelled by the developers and publishers Capcom, the reason Dead Rising 5 got cancelled, and the third thing we're going to be talking about is the future of Dead Rising 5. So without further ado, you know I will shut the hell up, and I want you to let's just jump right into it.
Let's just jump into it. Let's just jump into it. Let's just jump into it. Let's just jump into it. Let's just jump into it. Let's just jump into it.
So let's start off with Dead Rising 5 being cancelled in general, but before we talk about that, let's talk about the story behind Dead Rising 5. I know that was kind of a dick tease. I was like, okay, let's do this. Actually, before we do this, let's do this. But Dead Rising 5 was meant to be set 25 years after the original game, the original Dead Rising. Dead Rising 5 was going to feature a new protagonist named Jack. Oh, Jack, okay, Jack. It was going to feature a new protagonist named Jack. Instead of Frank West, who fans of the series obviously grown to love, who are most comfortable with, it was going to feature a new protagonist named Jack. Now, Dead Rising 5 was also meant to be a reset for the series, not a reboot, just a reset. Basically, what they was going to do is return to what made the series and the franchise great in the first place, what made it successful, what made people fall in love with it. They was going to return to that in Dead Rising 5, so it's going to count as a reset, not a reboot. They wasn't going to completely go the opposite way. Now, Capcom Vancouver, if you didn't know, was responsible for developing Dead Rising 3 and also Dead Rising 4, and they was on the way to develop and release Dead Rising 5. But on the 18th of September 2018, Capcom Studios in Vancouver were found dead at the home. I don't know. They was closed down basically. The studio was closed down on the 18th of September 2018. The way I said it was like a news report. That's why I went with they was found dead in the home. But yeah, the studio was closed down. I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying right now watching this video. But THEAR, this is old news. Oh my god, everyone knows this. So why are you even making this video? This is old. Unsubscribe, dislike, turn off notifications. Oh my god. Well, no one's really fully explained why the game got cancelled. So that's why I wanted to make this video. And that's what we're going to talk about in a minute. So with the studio being closed down, Dead Rising 5 was then cancelled. And Dead Rising 5 was supposedly in development since 2015, so all that progress was thrown in the bin. Kind of like all your high school achievements. After you finish high school, you're like, yeah, burn them, burn all certificates, yeah. I'm joking, I've still got all mine on my bedroom wall. But let's talk about the real reason. I'm going to talk in depth on the real reason Dead Rising 5 got cancelled, so let's go. Dead Rising 4 is easily to blame. It is. Dead Rising 4 is to blame for Dead Rising 5 being cancelled. Dead Rising 4 is like Akon at the moment. You can put the blame on me. You can put the blame on me. That's what you can do. You can put the blame on Dead Rising 4 because they are to blame for Dead Rising 5 being cancelled. Or should I say Capcom are? Because Capcom said this about Dead Rising 4, which I found interesting. He said, Dead Rising 4's poor sale and lack of support were to blame for Dead Rising 5 being cancelled. Yeah, you didn't make the game. Nah, it definitely wasn't your fault. It definitely wasn't the way the game ran. It definitely wasn't the way the game felt. Nah, it was definitely the fans' fault for not buying the game and not playing it all the time. Nah, you keep telling yourself it was the fans' fault. It wasn't your fault. I don't know why they said that. That's a weird way to say we messed up. But Dead Rising 5 had poor sales and there wasn't a great support behind it. But why did it have poor sales? Well, Dead Rising 4 was rushed. It was heavily rushed when it was released. The mechanics felt janky, the gameplay felt sloppy, fans were not impressed with it, and many people said this is a Dead Rising, this just doesn't feel like a Dead Rising game. And they're right to say that because it didn't. So Dead Rising 4 was rushed. Now I believe personally Dead Rising 4 was rushed due to the Microsoft deal that Capcom have with Microsoft. Basically what they have to do is release a Dead Rising game in a certain time period so they can release it only on Xbox One, or the Xbox platform, sorry. And this is where I probably think that's where the development progress got rushed, and that's why Dead Rising 4 got rushed, because Microsoft were pointing at the watches like, come on boy, come on, time's ticking, we need that game. And Capcom was like, there you go, it's unfinished, have fun. And that's what helped, well, not helped, Jesus, not a good thing. That's what damaged Dead Rising 4, and that's what contributed to the poor sales and lack of support. Also, Dead Rising 4 missed out a lot of key elements to the game that made the series in the first place popular. They just missed them out. They was like, yeah, do you know what makes that game popular? Yeah, we do. Don't add them in. Alright, sound bro, we won't. Nah, I get you. I don't know why they sound like they're from Manchester, but yeah, they missed out a lot of key elements that made the series successful. They didn't add them in Dead Rising 4, and this was probably because they were rushed and didn't have enough time to add them in. So this also contributed to the poor sales and lack of audience retention. Also, the development team behind Dead Rising 4 had no real passion for Dead Rising 4. They wasn't really passionate about making Dead Rising in the first place when they got the Switch. I think Dead Rising 3 was an alright game, it was decent, but Dead Rising 4 was terrible. So when Dead Rising 5 comes out, you kind of like, we don't really want to make Dead Rising 5 because Dead Rising 4 didn't do well, we didn't get enough money back, and there's not really any motivation there when you don't have fans or money supporting you. There's not really a lot of motivation, so the development team weren't really passionate about making a fifth one, nor were they passionate about making Dead Rising 4, therefore that could be another reason why the studio was eventually closed down. Or it could be a simpler reason that Capcom wanted to focus on more profitable games, such as Resident Evil. That's a very popular series and very popular franchise for Capcom, and also Monster Hunter Generation sold better than Capcom expected, so maybe they wanted to shift on series and games that were making them a lot more money, a lot more profitable, and had a stronger fan base behind it, rather than focus on something that's less popular and didn't sell as well as they had hoped, which would be Dead Rising. So maybe that's why they also closed the studio down. But I believe it was mainly due to Dead Rising 4. You can blame it. Dead Rising 4 is the downfall for Dead Rising 5. After Dead Rising 4, they didn't make money, they had a lack of support, the development team weren't passionate about the game, the production of Dead Rising 4 was rushed. This all contributed into Dead Rising 4 being a flop in general, and that's the real reason Dead Rising 5 was cancelled. But what about the future of Dead Rising? Is that it? Is that Dead Rising done? Are we never going to see a Dead Rising game again? No. Let's talk about the future of Dead Rising. Now, just because Capcom Vancouver has closed down doesn't mean the Dead Rising series is dead. There is still hope of it being saved, unlike Madeleine McCann.
What the fuck? Is this allowed? What the fuck? Is that allowed?
I don't know why I keep mocking her. I'm sorry. I hope she comes back to her family in time, even though she's in her family's basement. But I hope she goes back to her family. There is still hope. Let's get back on track, shall we? Before I get demonetized. There is still hope for Dead Rising series in general, because Capcom Japan could regain control of Dead Rising series and develop number 5. Now, if you don't know who Capcom Japan are, they are responsible for Dead Rising 1 and also making Dead Rising 2. Comment down below which one's better, Dead Rising 1 or Dead Rising 2, or which Dead Rising game in general is better. If you say 4, I swear to God I'm going to ban you from my channel. You'll never be able to comment on my videos again if you say 4. But yeah, they was responsible for Dead Rising 1 and 2, so if they could regain control, they could develop number 5, and I think that's what fans would want. I think that would encourage fans to play number 5 and actually buy number 5, is if they give the series back to the original designers, the original developers. I think that would help the sales and help the support in a positive manner. The old fans would go back to Dead Rising series and it would bring in a lot of money. This is if Capcom Japan don't have any projects to work on at the moment. If they do, I don't see Dead Rising coming out anytime soon, but if they don't, they can start developing Dead Rising 5 as soon as possible. That is if Capcom in general want to give Dead Rising back to Japan, Capcom Japan, or do they want to say, now that's it, let's pull the plug, Dead Rising is dead, let it just wash it down the drain. Beautiful analogy. So now let's go to the conclusion and let's conclude this mess of a video all in one sentence. So So to conclude, Dead Rising 5 was cancelled after Capcom Vancouver was closed down on the 18th of September 2018. Dead Rising 4 was the major problem in Dead Rising 5 being cancelled due to poor sales and audience retention, and that was because Dead Rising 4 was rushed and missed out a lot of the key elements that made Dead Rising a popular series in the first place, and plus the development team behind Dead Rising 4 wasn't passionate about the game and didn't really have any motivation to make a fifth installment, sorry, I said that weird. Finally, Dead Rising 5 could still be made if Capcom Japan take over, who are the original designers and developers of Dead Rising 1 and 2. So, thank you all for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you did. If you didn't, I don't really care about you. Thank you all for watching. Until next time, I've been THEAR. Put THEAR inside your heart. We are representing baby. Oh.